All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Club. We are now at episode 6 of the Acolyte, and that's what we'll be discussing today. And I'm just going to throw it out there again. How did we feel this episode compared to last week? I know last week we said it kind of somewhat salvaged itself with a little bit more of an action episode. How do you think episode 6 fared backing up episode 5? Gundark. Gundark. Yeah, not everybody at once.
I
Stuck up.
I I thought it was interesting. It was better than some of the previous episodes before episode five, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as episode
Yeah,
five.
yeah.
But for me, it was at least interesting in that I'm glad we got some more time with the Sith Lord or whatever that is.
Hmm.
And I was intrigued by how horrifying Master Soul turned out to be by the end of the episode. I like those are the two things that are interesting me most about the show, is Master Soul
Yeah,
and this Sith Lord or whoever this person is.
I
And
agree.
so
Those are the
I
most
was,
interesting two characters for me as well.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it had a higher level of interest for me than previous episodes, but again, not nearly as good as episode five, which I think is probably going to be like we were predicting last week, kind of the highlight of
The
the
high water
series.
mark.
Yeah,
Yeah. I agree. Especially now that we're down to just two episodes remaining. So the
yeah,
only thing really left to, I mean, there's a lot left to resolve, but I think the only thing we're going to get resolved is the kind of like what Greedo was saying last week. We're just going to be focused on the twins, I think, from here on
yeah,
out, the last two episodes, which, I think we all agree is kind of the least interesting aspect of this whole
yeah.
show. So overall, I thought the episode was not, again, not terrible, but it wasn't great either. I it definitely thought it slipped a couple of notches from last week. Which, and again, last week was certainly not perfect. It was okay, not great. This week, eh, you know, it was. I don't know if I'd call it. It was kind of a filler episode. It did establish a few things, but it was a bit of a filler episode. Not a lot of action, of course. It was mostly exposition and just a little bit of movement from here to there. But overall, I thought it was definitely better than maybe the second best episode we've had of the whole season. I thought it was definitely a step down from last week, though. What do you think,
Yeah.
Greedo?
Yeah, I mean, there was nowhere to go but down unless they did something really, really clever with the dialogue and
Hmm.
introduced us to some concepts that were Empire Strikes Back level for the bad guys. Like if we heard Sith philosophy for the first time, that was just like really well done.
Hmm.
Instead they tried to do too much in too short a period of time.
Right.
There's no way to make it believable that this girl would go from seeing eight or nine people slaughtered and she's not betrayed by her own sister and go through all that and then just sit there and stare wide-eyed at this guy the whole episode,
Right.
and
Yeah.
do nothing. I found that very hard to believe because there just wasn't enough time. They needed her to, hey, she needed to be there at least a week and try to escape several times or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
before she would consider an alternative of starting to listening to what the guy had to say. I feel like these twin characters are just weak. Unfortunately, um, they just don't have the conviction of real characters. They don't feel real. So when you say the most interesting characters are Soul and whatever Kamir, I think they're the
Hmm.
only interesting characters at this
Yeah, that's
point.
a good
Yeah.
point.
So,
Yeah.
sadly,
Yeah.
um, and this was set up to maybe get a season two and stuff. And I'm like, what in the world would they do with a season two? That would hold anyone's interest. And I heard it's from the showrunner. She talked about doing two more mysteries over a couple more seasons. And I'm like, this mystery sucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is
It's
there
the
anything
first
like
one. It's
this
not much of
mystery?
a
We're not
mystery.
interested. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
first you need. I mean, I'm not trying to diss anybody, but somebody needs to over there needs to look at their scripts and go, if this is a mystery, it's just not working. It
Yeah.
doesn't work as a mystery. It may work as a stunt, if you pull it off just right. But as a mystery, no, it ain't, it's not a mystery, and
Right.
it's not a good one. And I don't know where they're going at this point with this because I had a problem with Master Soul in this episode. I'm trying to see him still as as the Jedi protagonist kind of in this, along with Osha, but
Mhm.
he's looking more and more shady and sketchy as it goes along. And he's the creepiest Jedi since Qui-Gon tested Anakin's blood without telling him, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like so yeah, it's just creepy. And that hug he gave her was all kinds of ick and made me think of storylines like what is the big secret and why is it's just I don't think I should be thinking these things, looking at it. It's like
Yeah.
I think they should be poking me in the direction of what kind of creep is Saul. I feel like that undermines any tension we have right now, which is
Hmm.
very little. There is no tension in the show at all. And I feel like that undermines that. So and then of course we had the other major character and player in this was the Space Beaver. And that just didn't work either. It's
At all. At all.
Clash of the Titans. This is Clash of the Tones. It's like
Hmm.
just it's just
Yeah.
tone
Yeah, it
clash
really
all
is.
episode. For a short episode, it was like just you couldn't settle in anywhere because they would
Hmm.
knock you off. Just it reminded me of a certain movie that we all have mixed opinions on, but Star Wars movie where the tone just was all over the place.
Right.
It was like that. I will say positives. I thought everybody did just fine with the script they were given
Yeah.
and probably what they were given to do. I thought the music was more noticeable in a memorable way, in a better way in this episode. I liked the strings theme that they came up with when she woke up on
Mhm.
Sith Island. It implied isolation and desperation, and also maybe something mysterious and poetic. So I thought it was much more effective, the music in this episode. Um, and in the set, this island set is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that this Sith has his own hot tub in his cave, and then has the room temperature, climate temperature tub outside, so he can run from the hot water or the cold water to the hot
Right.
water. He's got it all down. And we were calling him Smilo
Nice.
Ren. I think he should be Sith Pack after this. because because they went to a great deal of trouble. I was wondering how far they were going to go. I was like, hey, just go for the full Sith if you're going to do this.
Yeah.
But it's still Star Wars, and we can imply from the size of his saber hilt, he's either compensating for something or something, but we don't get to
I was
see it.
afraid that's where that was going.
But I don't know what you guys thought about this. He said it's a special relationship, mentor and student and everything. Again, this was just full of creepy overtones on both sides. I felt
Yeah.
like,
Well,
and
it was definitely sexual. I mean, they unclothed him in front of her, and he tells her, "If
he
you're not
said,
going to
"You're not going to
join
join me. I'm
me,
going to put my clothes
Hmm.
on." I liked that
eh,
line
if you're
because it
not going
showed
to
me,
join me, I'm going to put my clothes back on."
yeah,
You know,
it showed me how much
Yeah.
he just didn't care about any of that. And again, I thought the Sith looked better than the Jedi by far.
Oh
The Jedi
yeah.
was just chaos. Like he had no
Yeah.
control of his situation at all. He had no center. He wasn't feeling the Force. He was a wreck.
Hmm.
He's just a train wreck at this point. And the Sith looks like, he's on vacation. He's just,
Yeah. Right. Just relaxed and
yeah, it's like,
focused and
yeah,
confident. And yeah.
exactly. Which one are you going to follow at this point? I mean,
Yeah.
this guy's got his own apartment and his own real
His
estate
own jacuzzi and
beachfront. Yeah, he's not answering to anybody.
yeah.
We see so far anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, it was to me. It was not. It was a big step back. Big step back. Like I was looking forward to this from the beginning. I wanted to
Hmm.
see dark side characters
Yeah.
interacting. Instead,
Yeah.
we have yet another Rey Kylo Ren situation with the romantic overtones. And
yeah.
I just don't. Again, I just don't see it. I don't see any chemistry there.
Mm-mm.
Um, I don't see any reason for her to be into him, and I see absolutely no reason for him to be into her except to just prove something to himself that he can spoil anything he wants.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't get it. It's too short. We can't develop relationships in this period of time. Space
Yeah.
Beaver for the win, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
The lightsaber whip. What did you guys think of the lightsaber whip? I was curious about that.
I didn't care for it. I thought it was kind of ludicrous,
Okay.
honestly. Yeah, pretty hokey. And if you even tried to use that in a battle, it would just make all kinds of collateral damage. That's
And
just
was that the only reason they have the moth attack again so that you could
Yes.
demonstrate a new Jedi
Probably the
probably.
biggest
weapon?
plot device ever.
Yeah, yeah,
Space Beaver.
absolutely. I guess my two is two biggest issues with this episode were the fact that, like we already touched on, OSHA seemed very ho hum, when
Mm.
talking to
Mhm.
Kamir, like right after all these people got slaughtered. So a couple of people that she did see, I mean, obviously Soul wasn't killed, but he was there. And then,
She
the
just
other
took those
two
guys to
Jedi,
work.
she had been close to them at one point. So they're all slaughtered, and she's just acting like, oh, well, no big deal. And she almost to me seemed interested in what he was saying. And that none of that connected with me at all. I didn't understand why that character would do that.
She never asked the one question any person would ask upon
Mhm.
waking up. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Why did you bring me here?
Why am I here?
Why
Yeah.
am I here? Why am
Hmm.
I not dead?
Right.
You just assumed she's special enough to be alive because she's the center of everything. He even said everybody seems real interested in you.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
exactly.
that the first question you'd ask is, why am I here? Why didn't you kill me? Did you think I was my sister or what? Once you realize he didn't think that, why did you spare me? When you killed everyone else, that would be my first question.
Hmm.
But
Am I
or
more than just a random hostage to
yeah, it
you
would be
kind of
one of
thing?
your
Yeah.
questions at least. Yeah, is
Sure,
you
sure.
want to know what the motivation is. This psycho who's killed everyone is now holding you prisoner.
Yeah. Yeah, why
But
not kill me too?
yeah.
Exactly. And then the other thing would be I have my one of my other issues with Soul is that he doesn't seem like he can sense anything. You know, he's like, it's like, Kamir knew immediately that that was OSHA, and yet here Soul is, we don't know at what point he realized that it was actually May that he saved, because at some point during this episode he just like clicked over and was like, oh, this is May. I don't know. It just seems like, whether he was ignoring the fact that he sensed that she was walking up behind him with a knife, like she was going to stab him, and just ignored that, knowing that his Jedi reflexes are quick enough to turn and take care of it if she got closer, so he didn't do anything. I don't know, but that seems really weird to me. That all this time he just doesn't seem to be able to sense anything. Kind of like it almost like it gets into the prequel territory of like, why can't the Jedi, sense that the Sith are around?
I
Yeah.
I don't.
think they tried to explain it, although in a really clunky way,
Okay,
because
what did you get then?
Lucky.
well, originally, okay, let me tell you, when he originally hugged her, said, "Osha, you saved us, you saved me," that man tried to push me to a point where I couldn't come
Hmm.
back. I think he thought that was Osha at that point. But then she went off to repair the ship and found the pip droid and like screwed his head over or whatever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
reprogrammed him. And whenever she came back, he was like, I've noticed things about you as your relationship with that pip droid, the way you care about it and you seem to love it. I think at that point is when he had figured it
I
out.
thought so too. Honestly, yeah,
Yeah.
that's around the time I started thinking. I think maybe he knows he's testing her to see if
And
he's
and the
right.
way I think they explained it is that he said, "I can't believe that I let that I didn't recognize that villain or that I he got the better of me. I didn't recognize he was there." And she said
Know
something
his
like,
intentions. Yeah.
yeah, that sometimes when you're overwhelmed by something, by feelings or whatever, it blocks you, it blinds you. And so
Yeah,
I think that was their excuse
their
for why
excuse, right?
he was so much at, oh, so I've got to get you out of here. And oh, so you saved me from going to the dark side.
That's what we
And
said last week. We figured they would explain it as him being so wrecked by what
yeah,
happened that he wouldn't look close to home. But I'm beginning to think Soul's powers are all in his hand because if he doesn't get the wave off first, then his powers don't work. I think it's like you will tell me whatever.
Yeah.
And if he also doesn't get to look the person in the eye or something and do that. Also, I can think, intuition is one thing.
Hmm.
But actively using the force against another person, I don't think you do that to your Padawan or your friend.
No, I
I think
agree.
you
I
go,
agree.
are you who you appear to be, unless you have serious, I thought he did it way too quickly against that prisoner. Like he
Hmm.
just went in and violated that guy's rights and read his mind. To me, that's a Kylo Ren move.
Yeah.
That's what we've only seen Kylo Ren do, is just force people's thoughts to the forefront and take them away from them. That's yeah, that's one thing that made me really suspicious of Soul from the beginning is
Hmm.
how heavy-handed, literally, he wielded the force to read that guy's mind. Like he wasn't gonna wait for a discussion. He's just gonna take the info.
Yeah.
Um, so I think he could be defended in that if his intuition was messed up by what happened, he wasn't going to sit there and use the force to directly, actively against someone that he wants to, have an understanding with, someone that
Hmm.
is he wants to be friends with, or that is a Padawan or whatever, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I found his whole performance here to be weak and weird. Like the whole thing of the guy almost pushed me to a point. It's like, what point did he
Yeah,
almost push
what
you
point did
to?
he almost push you to? Yeah,
You're in a
exactly.
lethal combat, and people will die because you didn't finish him.
Hmm.
You know, you have
He
a
nearly he
That's a
nearly
great
cut
point.
his head off when he was unarmed, though. And Ocean stopped it. I thought that's what he was
guy is
referring
never
to.
unarmed. That's what they should have figured out. The guy is not unarmed at any point.
No.
He has no rules. You got to fight at his level. I mean, there would have been nothing wrong with that. And for OSHA to stop him made no sense to me. A lot of this, that's my problem with
Do
all
you
the
think a
characters.
Jedi would really think there wouldn't be anything wrong with that?
Yes,
No. That's a no. No.
he's become a very great threat. He has to be stopped. And
And
you're in a
it,
situation where if you don't stop him by whatever means necessary, he gets away and lots more people die. And also possibly the balance of the force is thrown off. You have to stop him. You have to.
But that is
yeah,
a
but
gray
in
area. That's a very gray area.
yeah, and
Yeah.
isn't that one of
But
the
it's not
weaknesses
murder.
of the
It's not
Jedi?
murder. The guy came in swinging. You know, he came in killing people.
I understand that. Yeah, I get that.
Stopping a guy with scissors running around stabbing the policeman. You know, you got to stop him however you can, because he's just going to stab more and more police or more bystanders, or he's going to take a. He's held the girl with the lightsaber to her head. The guy, you know, he's extremely dangerous. There was nothing. Now, Saul may have said, "I did it in anger." You know, like I struck him in anger, and I shouldn't have done that.
Well,
But
he
he needed to
did.
be struck
Yeah.
down, and he needed to be struck down. He needed at least cut his hands off. You know, something. It may sound cruel, but neutralize him. You know, you've
Maim
got
him
to,
rather than kill
and
him. Yeah.
Maim him.
guy
Okay,
is
I
Yeah.
can see
so
that. But
strong in the force, you cannot neutralize him. You can't.
Hmm. Hmm.
Only way is to. It's the only way. I'm
but
sorry.
I think the key for him is that he was violating Jedi teaching and he was going to strike down an unarmed person in complete anger. I mean, he was filled with rage at
Guy's not
that moment.
unarmed. I just don't see it that way. He's using the dark side of the force at all times. His voice, his will, everything is a weapon. And we saw that he's covered in head to toe with weapons, and his body is a weapon. He's trained to kill, kill, kill. So he is not an unarmed, harmless person. No matter
Yeah.
until you got him tied up, gagged, you know, impossible to move. You
And he's
can't
fighting
trust.
dirty.
Yeah, and he's killing everyone, and you've
Hmm.
got people still alive who are your responsibility. He had to be neutralized. I just don't see it that way. I know the Jedi, blah blah, but we've seen plenty of times where the Jedi have struck down people who you could call helpless, who just happen who are standing there. They're enemies. You know, it's if it's a war, it's a war, and that was a war. You know, they just weren't ready. Is you don't have conflicts like that when you're in a war. You do what has to be done, and you worry about
But again, I think you're overlooking the point that he was enraged. I think he felt like he was turning to the dark side. If he had killed that person, there was no coming back, it seemed almost like.
well, there's
And he
you're right.
almost
If you
didn't come
use the
back
dark
from it
side,
as it is.
take
Yeah.
a life that would be hard, but he could go sit for 10 years in silence and people's lives would have been saved, you know, and he would have neutralized a huge threat, you know. I mean, the guy's just an epic fail at this point. He
Yeah.
accomplished
I
nothing.
agree. I agree.
And
He just
why did he flee the system? It makes no sense. It's like
Yeah,
a guy who's running is running to cover up his crimes at this point or
that
something.
almost is what it looks like. Yeah, which
yeah,
obviously he didn't, but you're right. It makes him look like
Like he's lost.
and obviously they touched base with that, within the episode. It's like it looks almost like maybe he could have done this, and it got her thinking
yeah.
like, maybe, even though
Yeah.
Well,
she
I
said
wonder
no, he would
too.
That's
never
the
do that.
dumbest thing ever, though. It's like you're gonna murder a whole bunch of people and then call and say, "Hey, my whole team got wiped out," and
Yeah, why
I'm
would
losing
he
you.
they
I'm
call?
fell on
losing you.
they fell on
Yeah,
their own sabers.
yeah, they all fell in their shape.
Why would he call?
Oh, and let's bring
But
up.
I don't know. That was weird. That was weird. Like, why did he call them and then run away when they arrived? And I'm
It's like he
wondering
realized he had May instead of Ocean.
yes, I
So he
think
wants.
Yeah,
that's what it,
I
yeah,
think he wants to
yeah.
protect May, but they're making him
yeah.
look like a maniacal weirdo. But I
Hmm.
think
But he
wants to
is.
remove her from the
But
situation.
he is.
And not only that, but May's another worthless individual. Why would anyone put themselves on the line except
May is horrible.
or her family for that individual? She's horrible.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
she
there's
is
no reason to
horrible.
protect her at this point, except that he feels guilty. Just, and also I think it's weird too when you go through a thing that, like I told you guys, the Sith guy seems unrelated to the witch people.
Hmm.
I mean, I know he taunted him with, like you're not very Jedi-like and stuff, but it's still unrelated as far as we know. They're just killing the Jedi that were there, and
Right.
and May was involved, so it's related. But you have this guy reveal himself, kill your whole team, and then you're like, I need to confess what happened all those years ago. Don't you need to deal with the situation right now and then deal with that one? Why do you think they're so related that you got to stop everything? Let's put
Hmm.
everything on hold while this bad guy's getting away or doing whatever he's doing so I can address what
Yeah,
happened in the
yeah,
past. Why? There's no tangible link so far that would make me think like Master Soul is supposed to be thinking. That's what I don't get about this show is the characters are not
Hmm.
following sensible
Right.
paths ever. They're just
Oh, I
not.
agree. I agree
yeah,
And for them
completely.
to conclude that he went nuts and killed everyone is insane.
Yeah.
It's literally insane for them to even consider that.
Hmm.
But okay, real quick, who do you guys think? What do you think about Kamir's past? What he claimed he was a Jedi.
Hmm.
He's got a scar.
Yep.
Looks suspicious as
he said
suspicious to us.
she asked him if he was stabbed in the
Stabbed in the
back,
back, literally.
and
Yeah.
he said it was by someone who threw me away. And she said, was it your Jedi master?
Hmm.
And he didn't answer that.
Right.
And he did admit he had been a Jedi a long time ago. And then he said a really long time ago. So he must be much older
Then he
than he
looks.
appears to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
maybe I'm still wondering if we're not getting into Darth Plagueis territory.
well, my first thought when I saw his scar until she said stabbed in the back was it looked like Force lightning scar,
It
and then
did.
I
Yeah.
thought, nah, it's the Force whip. He's been whipped like a slave. He's been whipped.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about
Ooh,
that. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
yeah. And what kind of sadist would have a whip as a weapon anyway? And whether Jedi or whatever, it's a weird freaking weapon. I feel like for a Jedi to have. I mean, I guess it's cool and all, but I mean, it's kind of a oppressive, subjugating a whip is not looked upon as sadistic
Favorably.
that's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
weapon.
Yeah.
So when I saw the forked scar, I was like, okay, he was whipped for disobedience or something
Hmm.
Mm.
by something, because I knew from seeing the previews it was going to be a force whip, and then I saw it, and so, and when he said the soul, you don't remember me, do you? Well, that would make sense if he had been a
Hmm.
Padawan of Venestra or whatever.
Right.
Sounds like one of the drugs they do 8,000 side effects on television.
And
Side effects
that's
of Venestra.
exactly. Check with your doctor
Your signature.
before taking an Estra.
If you feel burning pains on your back, you may have taken too much Venestra. But but uh but no, I immediately thought of her from the previews, and then and she revealed the whip. And also, if he had been a Padawan of hers or one of her Padawans or something, I don't know when they assigned them from a group to Soul may have seen him then, but without being a direct student of Soul. And so when he said, "You don't remember me, do you?" Maybe if he's older than he looks, maybe they were kids together, or maybe he was one of Venestra's students before Soul was teaching the younglings, or something.
Yeah, could be.
And she's actually the evil one because they really have sold her as being kind of menacing. She's just glaring all the time,
Hmm.
um, you know, as
Yeah,
if
she always seems to be in a mood, you
and
know.
she's the one blocking everything from going to the High Council.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. I have a feeling there'll be more revealed about her.
And he said in this episode deliberately he wanted to go to the High Council. Soul did.
Yeah,
Soul said
Mhm.
it's time for me to go to the High Council and tell the truth, reveal
yeah.
everything.
Well, that could be another
So
reason for him to flee is if he feels like there is a mole or someone
yeah,
working against him and
Hmm.
they were set up and sent to this planet and ambushed. But he can't, but he didn't seem to think that when he's trying to send the signal at first.
yeah,
So either it occurred to him or more likely he was trying to protect May, but it's just weird. And I can only think he's going to go back to the witch planet. That's the
yeah,
only place I could think he could go to bring
Hmm.
the story full circle. But again, why?
Why?
Why take her there?
Yeah.
I mean, just hoping that the bad guy and Osha show up there too. I mean, I don't know. And how come the Jedi didn't sense all these Jedi being killed and stuff?
Well,
yeah.
that
That
gets
was
back to
You know,
my
my
thought
point
eight
of why
too.
can't
Jedi,
these
eight
people
Jedi
sense
killed at
anything? Yeah.
once. They
Yeah,
don't.
Right.
Nobody had the. It's like, does the High Council already know? Wouldn't they? Do they lose track of Jedi that easy? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, what are you hiding? What are you hiding from them? It's like, many Padawan dead. I feel, horror,
but
pain.
they've already made a point in this show of Vernester not wanting to take anything to the High Council
Right.
to
She's like she's
and
avoiding
they
that at all
again they
costs.
They
said they had a
literally have a
senator
Senate
saying
review.
that this
Yeah.
yeah, the senator was saying that
Stupidest
they were
thing
going to
ever.
review the Jedi.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right.
don't know. Maybe
This
that
seems way more corrupt to me than the Jedi in the prequels. It really does. The
It
Jedi people
Yeah.
does.
seem more
Yeah.
kind of clueless. These
Yeah.
Right.
people seem actively
This just
corrupt.
feels actively shady.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
title of this episode was Teach slash Corrupt, I
Siege
think.
corrupt. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. Well,
Oh, and I go ahead.
you mentioned the mole. Let's talk about the tone deaf beaver in this episode
Now you
because
could be.
that scene was clearly they're going for this quirky, funny comic relief moment
Doesn't
that
Yeah.
could
belong
not
in
have
this
fell more
show.
flat and been more of a waste of, 2 minutes.
Oh, but you're gonna regret those words because there's gonna be a brilliant twist to the story that the
Mm,
beaver fell in that red pollen and got
yes.
infected with space rabies earlier in the episode before, and now he bit her, so she's got it. So
There
she's
you
gonna
go.
become through her rage of space rabies, she's gonna become more powerful than anyone ever in the dark side.
There you go.
Didn't
That
even get
that would
your
explain
words.
a
It's
lot.
brilliant. It's actually brilliant, Corellian.
Oh, I
You don't
know.
even recognize brilliant
I
use of
I'm
space
cle
beaver
it's
when you see
clearly
it.
so far above me that I can't
It is.
comprehend.
When the dam is built, you will salute the space beaver.
When the death dam.
The death dam is fully built. Do not resist the power of Bucky's. That's the whole reason they had him in there is try to do a time with Bucky's.
Yeah, they're doing an endorsement of Bucky's. I love it. That's perfect.
But I did want to say something real quick. Yeah, the Space
Mm,
Beaver. I mean, we can all agree that was terrible. No offense to the guy playing the Space Beaver or the
of
girl or the
course.
midget or
Yeah,
the
no
little
offense to
girl.
any of these people that
The
are portraying
puppeteering is fine.
the characters.
It's just in the wrong place, is all.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
aliens need to be
Yeah,
in Star Wars and stuff, and you need humor.
absolutely.
But this show needs tension more than it needs humor right
It
now.
Yeah.
does.
It
Yeah.
needs
Yeah.
some kind
Yeah.
of stakes, and the Space Beaver is gnawing away at the stakes every time you see him and at the
Yeah. Yeah.
tone. But I noticed in the Disney Plus thing it says for the write up of the Acolyte, and I can't find it anywhere else, or I'd quote it directly here, but it says a Jedi Master. What did it say? Um, anyway, I need to look it up, but it said something that could be taken a couple of different ways. It said a Jedi Master confronts an old student
Oh.
during a mystery or something like that. Well,
Hmm.
which Jedi Master, which student now? Because
Yeah.
we're getting the same story repeated kind of over
Yeah.
generations. It sounds like Kamir is could be considered the Padawan or the Acolyte or whatever if he was under someone who ends up being revealed in these last couple episodes. So the Jedi Master could be Venestra,
Hmm.
and the student could be Kamir. The Jedi Master could be Sol, and the student could be Osha,
Right.
or whatever. So
Even though none of those people actually came face to face in this episode. So,
no, but we can assume they will by the end. I mean,
sure. Yeah.
um,
Uh,
so what are your bets on? I mean, is Sol evil?
I don't think he's
I
evil. I
don't
think
think so.
what you said when we were chatting about it afterwards kind of struck me, where you said he's like a lawman who is so broken by whatever he's done that he's losing his grip on his sanity. That's what
Yeah.
it feels like to me. He
That's
had to do
exactly the take I'm
something
getting.
in
Yeah.
pursuit of what these Jedi ideals
Hmm.
that took him too far, and he's been trying to hide it from himself and others this whole time, and now it's all coming back on him, and he has to
And
deal
the
with
fact
it.
that this triggering incident of his entire team being killed right in front of
Yeah,
him, that's just putting him over the edge, I think.
yeah, and his own Padawan. I
Right.
still think the killing of Jackie is really important for his character because I think that it's like that's the moment that like put him over the edge because he's a master of younglings and he was trying to adopt the two girls as younglings, at the
Hmm.
beginning. And this is like losing Jackie is then like a reminder of whatever epic failure is going on with the two
Yeah.
girls.
Right.
Mm,
But yeah, I think he could even crack and go over the edge. I don't know. I don't think he's evil, but he could go there maybe. I don't
Hmm.
know.
mm,
But
yeah.
now I know you didn't like it, Greedo, about his change in this episode. It was one of the few things I liked, even though maybe it happened too
You
quickly.
liked his
He just
desperation?
yes, when like even there were moments when they were just with him, like after he said, I've got to go reset the transmitter when he couldn't get through to a
Oh,
message
where he
to
was
the
obviously
Jedi.
in pain. Yeah.
Yeah, he went to the other room. He was so angry at first, he just slammed his fist on the console, and then he got all teary-eyed, like he was about to break down and weep. And then suddenly something happened where he got a look of determination on himself. And I was wondering, well, what is going on in his brain at
Hmm.
those moments?
Yeah.
The actor's performance, I think, maybe is what I'm thinking elevates it
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
maybe than it
Yeah.
deserves.
Yeah,
Um,
I have nothing against any of the actors or anything. Don't let
Not
anybody
at
take
all.
my
Yeah.
words in that way, or the special effects people with the beaver, anything. It's just when you put a product together, it all hangs on how it comes together.
yeah.
Hmm.
And it has to start with writing that makes sense. Then the edit has to put it together in a way that makes sense so that you go from A to B to C. There can still be mystery, there can be surprises, but it has to hang together looking back at it. Like I don't feel like I can go back and watch this show again and have it make sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just there were so many red herrings and so many attempts to fake us out that people were acting out of character and we hardly knew their character, but
Right.
it didn't feel
Yeah.
right. It just didn't
Yes, it
feel
just came
right.
off as awkward. Yeah.
Yeah, and like trying to plant red herrings and weird ideas and
Yeah.
stuff to lead us in the wrong direction. And again, why the constant trope with the waking up?
I don't
We
get that.
saw
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it's like every
again
episode
here.
we're getting it once or twice. Yeah. It's very strange.
And it's like I would think someone's trying to tell us something with that when they hammer on it, but it seems to be pointless other than a transition just to get these
Yeah.
hapless characters who have no agency of their own from one situation to another, you
But
know?
maybe if it's a trope, but again, I'm not saying it's well done. Maybe it's a trope for what the girls obviously don't know something about their past they should know that I think Master Soul wiped out of their minds. So maybe this is like a waking up to what they really are or what really happened to
It's
them.
potential. Yeah.
I don't know,
But
but
couldn't you get that out of a couple of times
yeah,
Well, yeah, you don't
you didn't
necessarily need
have to
it
keep
six,
going.
seven
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
like I
Although
said,
I admit the moment that May woke up at the end and found herself tied down, and Master Soul was sitting over there watching her,
that was
and
creepy. Yeah,
oh, that was, and he said, "I have no intention of harming you, May." And when somebody says that and they got you tied down, it's
And you're a
like,
Jedi. Why would you
yeah,
even say that?
yeah.
That's
And
a
it
I
was
have
in
huge
the way he
no
said
reveal.
it. The
intention
way
of
he said it
harming
was did not convey the
you.
message at
No,
all.
And
As
not
soon as
convincing
I
at
wrote the
all.
rest of
Yeah.
it down. She said, "Then let me go." And he said, "I will, believe me." And I'm like, what the hell does that
Yeah, that's
mean? But then he
here.
said, you have a lot to do before that. And then he said, but first we must talk. For 16 years, I thought a lot about what I would say to you if I ever got the opportunity. So
to tie
you're
you
going to
down,
listen. You're
to
going
tie
to
you down and
listen.
talk to you.
Yeah. So it's like
Wow.
that's somebody who's gotten unhinged,
Yeah,
who's
yeah,
kept this
agreed.
for 16 years and they're unhinged. They finally got this person they're going to strap them down and they're going to make them listen and confront it. Yeah, that was scary.
Yeah, very
And I
odd.
liked that switch, but then I have a dark side myself.
No, I don't. The thing is, I don't like how it's making the Jedi look overall. Like
No,
The
exactly.
Sith is looking like a better choice. But
I
like
can see what
he's
you're
so
saying.
Yep.
confident
I've
that
got
he
that
just
issue
gave
with
her
the
his
show as
weapon.
well.
He
Yeah.
gave her his weapon, let her put it right to his chest. Like he was never
Yeah,
out of control of the situation, even though he had no control of the situation.
Right.
Soul had to manacle her and
yeah.
knock her out and stuff to
Hmm.
regain control of the situation. Like, and he's not in control no matter what he thinks. He's
Hmm.
talking like a crazy person,
But
Yeah.
and
see,
he
I
looks like
liked
a
that.
mad scientist or something right
I
now.
liked that, but it may be because of my own biases. Because I told you guys from the beginning when we were watching this series that I always wanted in the prequel movies, I wanted more of a sense of the corruption of the Jedi. I wanted to see the crack in the round
Yeah,
table, is what I
sure.
wanted. And so I'm kind of feeling like I'm getting that in this show. So maybe that's why I'm liking it, reacting to it a little bit better than you are. It might be my own biases in that
Hmm.
respect. And it might not be correct to be showing that at this point. That might have been something that should have been dealt with in the prequels and not earlier. I don't know.
I
But
think it's going to have to make sense these last two episodes for me to
yeah, I
reconsider
don't
my position because I just don't
yeah, I
think the
don't think it's
story.
gonna.
I don't think the story is worthy of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, I feel like I've seen plenty of the Jedi uh, tripping on their sabers.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Jedi have gotten very little respect in the Disney era. I feel like,
Hmm.
except for the Mandalorian, and
Right.
um, so I don't know. I'm tired. I've I don't know.
I can see
I
what you're
just
saying.
yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
too
Um,
much after everything else that's gone on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ahsoka was a big chance to kind of show the Jedi in a good light again, or Ahsoka as a representative of what they could have been, or something. And it wasn't like it was a total failure. It's just the show had so many weaknesses
Mm.
Yeah.
that it took me out of that. I was focused on what are they doing and how does
Right.
this make sense, instead of the integrity of the characters.
Sure.
Um, Ezra is another good chance. I really like the guy they cast as Ezra. He's got
Mm.
great
Yep.
positive energy. There's
Hmm.
no way that guy's ever going bad, even though he almost did in the show. He's way past that. I couldn't see him ever going bad. And so anyway, that's the kind of character I would like to see at this point. But just making it so weird and convoluted. I guess this next episode is going to explain a lot, like what happened on the planet. It's going to have to. I just can't imagine
Yeah. I mean,
how it's going to
basically
make
at this
sense.
point, we've only got what?
2 episodes
Well,
left
it's
or
two
One's
no?
a
episodes, so at the
flashback, yeah, and
most,
one's a
probably
Yeah.
60
resolution.
minutes of content,
Yeah. I
left
wonder if they're
because
going to leave it on a cliffhanger. Like, will we even get a full explanation of everything?
that we may not. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
because if they're talking about a season
Do
two,
another
then we may
season.
just
Yeah.
leave it and pick it up in 2 years. Who knows when they get around to making a season two? I don't know.
And
It's
If
and,
they
just
and
could, if they could
strange.
hurry and tell us about what Soul did, and then have the rest of the time on the Sith Lord,
Yeah,
I want to know. The Sith Lord didn't get enough time in this. I want to know
right.
more
and
about
may
the
and
Sith
maybe
Lord.
Soul. There's ways you could deal with Soul without killing him. He could revoke the Jedi way
He could retreat.
and go on. He could do a pull of Luke or Obi-Wan and
Yeah.
disappear
Hmm.
somewhere. Or he could do that barrage or whatever it's called, Val, that the one guy was doing, where you
Oh, where you just go
immerse
silent.
yourself in the Force. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um, there's lots of ways it could
sure.
go, but I still don't see him coming out of this alive. And I'm wondering, like, what is the resolution of this gonna be? Is it gonna be them doing another dance around the stones at the end on the witch planet and power of
That's
this,
what I'm hoping for.
No,
That's what I'm pulling for.
power of many.
All
but
right, let's do our rankings and see what we thought about this on in a number format. I'll go first. I'm going to give this one a 5.5.
I give it a 4
Okay.
because I appreciated a little bit of a look at the dark side characters, but nothing else landed for me. And the creepiness of all the situations and the kind of inexplicable nature of the characters' actions just couldn't let me settle in. And the episode's just too short. There's no
Yeah,
way I
they're
can
too
believe
short
this
for this. Yeah,
relationship between the Sith and Osha in 10 minutes of
that's
screen
another
time
big
or whatever it
issue that I
was.
have is yeah, these
Yeah,
episodes are way
so
too
I got to
short.
give it at most a 4.
Yeah.
But there was things, there was things to like, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it. I gave a previous episode of 5.5. I think this one's really better than that, but I don't think it's worthy of a 6. So can I give it a 5.7?
What are you saying? Last week you gave a 5.5?
No, a previous episode
Oh,
a
okay.
few
Yeah, yeah,
weeks
yeah.
ago. Yeah, and
I was
this
gonna
one's
say because I
actually
thought last
better
week you
than
gave it
that.
more. Yeah.
No, this one's actually better. I'm just confused about how to rate these because the whole series is so uneven,
It is.
so
Yeah, it's
it
very
is.
uneven.
um
Yeah.
so I don't know. I probably should have ranked the last episode much higher than I did. I think I'd give it a 7.5. It should have been like maybe an 8, 8.5, like
Yeah.
Greedo was ranking it compared to this one. But I guess I'll go, okay, a 5.7. Okay, a
Okay.
5.7.
Yeah, I think the worst episode so far was just the walk to Wookiee Mountain. That was
Yeah,
that
That
was
was
that
bad.
that
one
was
was
so
so slow
pointless.
and
The only
yeah,
way to make that make sense is if you watch those two back to back and
Hmm.
you don't take the
yeah,
break there when the Sith shows up and the battle starts.
Like for instance,
But
had they put that as one episode,
yeah,
made it
that would have
yeah,
one
been
hour
the
long
thing to
episode.
do.
How hard is that to
Yeah.
do? Yeah.
Yeah, it
yeah,
shouldn't have been that hard.
Right.
yeah.
And yeah,
Exactly.
and this one again, a total lull, and things just aren't making sense the deeper we get into this. It's
Mm-mm.
the mystery is
I don't
way too
know.
convoluted. There's too many pages to it.
Yeah,
And when they reveal something, it's super obvious, but it still doesn't make it make sense. It's like, I still don't. Uh, and I get it. It's supposed to be Star Wars is for kids or whatever, the old argument. But
But it ought to be
still,
good.
yeah,
It's
there's
still
no
got to be
reason.
enjoyable. It
Yeah,
doesn't
there's
have
no
to be
reason not
Sesame
to
Street
do a
level,
little
you
better
know?
than this, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I gotta say one more thing before we go. We
Yep.
didn't mention this when we were talking about the Sith character, whatever he is,
Hmm.
that the Kylo Ren musical theme played
Yeah.
multiple times in connection with this character. It happened 4 times in this episode alone, and then Greedo pointed out that if you watch all the way to the end of the credits, the musical score ends with Kylo Ren's theme at the end of the
Yeah, because
episode
before we were
credits.
recording today, Gundark and I were talking about that, about is this some sort of tied into the Knights of Ren? Is that, but I don't understand the timeline of the Knights of Ren. So I know we're 100 years before Phantom Menace, and then Kylo Ren's not for another 60 years or something. I don't, are the Knights of Ren around 200? I don't know. I don't know how that works. So
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
thought I
enough to
read
speak
that
on
they've
it.
been around the hundreds of years.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, he could be, because he said you might call me, the Jedi might call me a Sith. He could be
Right.
a member of the Knights of Ren or
In your
something different.
narrow-minded, yeah, view of the
Yeah.
Jedi, I would be a Sith. Yeah.
Anything that's not a Jedi and is a Sith.
Right.
But I also
So
wonder, have the Knights of Ren always been associated with the Force?
Hmm.
Because none of them seem to have the Force except Kylo
Except
Ren.
for
yeah, you're
Kylo.
right.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
Yeah.
point.
and
Yeah.
there was a comic, the Kylo Ren comic book where they showed Ben as Luke's apprentice,
Hmm.
and they went out and ran into the Knights of Ren for the first time, where they figured out who they were or whatever, and Luke basically wiped the floor with all of them, from what I
Hmm.
saw. And Kylo Ren, I mean Ben Solo was like, "You guys," they were saying, "We are the Knights of Ren." We're blah blah blah. He said, "Well, you don't know my master," and then
Yeah,
Luke
yeah.
kind of wiped the floor with him. But
Okay.
but I couldn't remember from that whether one of them was using or any of them were using the Force or not. They were just some kind of
Could
dark.
there, over like a couple 100 year period, could they have fallen out of Force use? This guy
Could be.
implies that he's very old.
That he did,
So
yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because he said
So
a
he,
long
Maybe the
time ago.
leader is
Yeah.
traditionally someone who uses the dark side,
Could be. Yeah.
but the rest of
And they
them don't
just,
have to,
right. The rest of them are just warriors. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
weird.
and if by the time of the sequels, whatever they were, they had definitely descended from whatever coolness they had once attained.
Yeah.
They pretty much were like a car commercial, just stand on a on the top of a bluff in a desert, looking
Yeah.
in all directions with
Cover
a
of a rock
drone spinning
album.
around them. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
how'd those Knights of Ren get there again? They're just always on a mountaintop somewhere posing.
Opposing.
Yeah, it's like they don't ever do anything. They just
If we don't
stand
get
there.
some kind of resolution to this guy, I'm going to be very disappointed. I want to know
I
more
agree. I
about
agree.
him.
I
So,
agree.
but I'm not really holding out that much hope.
Yeah.
Which is cooler, the Sith or Nazgul?
Oh, then that's cool.
The Nazgul are cooler.
Did you say the Sith or Knights of Ren?
No, I said the Nazgul. Which is cooler, the Sith
Oh, the Sith or the, oh, well,
or the Nazgul?
It's a toss up. Depends on what you want. Do you want a incredible beast to ride on the back of, and then it's an
yeah,
Azrael?
that's
If you want a
true.
really cool weapon, then it's the Sith.
But you can
The
be
Sith,
chased off by
yeah.
a torch, I will point out. That's the Nazgul.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
You also
Good point.
you also so powerless that you have to assault hobbits in their beds in the middle of the night and attempt to subdue them.
That sounds like a job for Soul.
Yeah. But at least, I mean, the Nazgul have a purpose, find the ring. They're no good at it, but they do have that
Well,
purpose.
they do have
I
a
don't know what the
purpose.
Knights of Ren are about,
Yeah,
but
posing for car commercials.
yeah,
So,
Now, hey, wait a
Nazgul are
second.
pretty
Wait,
cool
wait,
though.
wait. There's one thing we didn't mention too. Now that you're talking about Sith, and purpose, when Osha asked him, "What do you want?" and he said, "I want the rule of two."
yeah,
Do you remember that
yeah.
in
He
this
brought
Yeah,
that up
episode?
again. Hmm.
So he deliberately
Maybe I
mentioned a
need to watch
Sith
the episode
rule.
again. Did she ask, "What do you want with me?"
No, she asked, "What do you want?" Because he was
Oh, well, that's
talking
at
about what
least
he
in the
wanted.
direction I'm talking
It's at
about,
least in
though.
Yeah,
that direction. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
true.
it
That's
took her a
true. I'd
while to
forgotten
get
about
to
that
it.
line.
It took her a while
Yeah.
to get to it, but that would have been the
yeah,
first thing most characters would ask is, "Why? What are you doing? Why am I here?"
What do you want?
But
Yeah.
yeah, what do you want? But yeah, he wanted, and did he say the power of two instead of the rule of two?
no, the rule of
The
two.
rule of two. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
sure? I thought he said the
yeah.
power of two.
No, he said the rule of two.
Hmm.
I've only seen it once, but I was thinking it was rule. Yeah.
So it's like,
Who wants to lay their bets? What should we bet?
okay, hold on. I'm gonna see if I wrote it down.
No, no, let's just bet. And the next time we do an episode, you somebody, Gundark, I'll trust you, Gundark. I'll trust you to check it out.
I think it's he said the
It's
rule of
streaming, it's
two.
right there. It's just super easy to check.
Right.
I'll bet. Um, I've got junk mail here. I could bet some junk mail. You never know, it may have something valuable in it.
I've got some twisty ties here for some cords,
All
to hold
right.
cords. I can bet those.
I'll bet this Prismacolor red paint pen.
Okay, there you go.
But he said power of two.
No, he said rule of two. No, wait, I think you're right. Because
Ah!
I wrote it down.
You
It
did? You
said,
wrote it
what do
down?
you want? The power of two.
Should never write things down. It always ends up working against you.
It always bites you.
The power of
Exactly.
I did
imagination.
not
Just use
bet
that.
anything.
Imagined
I
it.
did not bet anything.
So he did write it down. So he did say power of two.
I think so because I wrote it down. But of course
I
I
just
couldn't.
remember. I was wishing he'd said the rule of two, but instead he said,
Yeah,
I was afraid he was going to say, the power of many or
I
something.
get that.
Oh yeah.
The power of Manny.
Ouch. Manny.
My master Manny is more powerful than all of you. The power of Manny.
No, he
All
does
right.
want the power too. Oh my God. This is going in a bad
All
direction.
right. Well, on that note, we will call it a wrap. So thanks again for liking, subscribing, watching our episodes, and just talk to us in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking about the show so far, and we will see you next week.
I did not bet my life on that, fortunately.
And if anybody knows
Manny.
where the Sith Island is, where we could go visit, that was a cool looking
The
place.
unknown planet is what it was.
Unknown
Unknown
planet.
Yeah,
planet.
unknown planet.
Wah, 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 wah,
Unknown to
wah.
who? I
Right,
mean, like, why
exactly.
all the others had names put up there? Why didn't they put
No,
it up
Gundark,
there?
it's pronounced Unk Noun. Planet Unk
Unknown.
Noun.
Unknown planet.
It's pronounced Raymond Luxury Etched. Okay. All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Acolyte. Of the Acolyte. No, this is not the actual Acolyte. This is actually the Cantina Club. Hey, guys. Wow. What is. I can't even do the freaking intro. I've literally done this intro 4,000 times over the last 6 years, and I can't do one today.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Cantina Globe. Today we're going to be discussing episode 6 of The Acolyte. So we'll be right back after this. Stick around. I love you. Look how handsome I am. Just plant the kisses right here, up and down my whole body and face.